Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
This is Josh the Doctor, that podcast where if we were real, we'd be dead in 6 months, because this week we watched Robot of Sherwood.
Written by Mark Gatiss.
Directed by Paul Murphy.
And aired on September 6th, 2014. So, yeah, as I mentioned in the outro to last week's episode, this is the first Doctor Who episode I ever looked up fan reaction for online.
Wow.
And it was not, from what I remember, not all that positive.
Which is kind of weird, because I remember the first time I watched this episode, I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was a lot of fun this time. I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't like mind-blowingly good, but it was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good as well. I really enjoyed it. And, I think if you ask people now what they think of this episode, I think a lot of people would say they liked it, but I think it's probably just that thing of like this visceral reaction to the most recent episode where it's like, that sucked. Everything that came before this was so much better.
And just people hating on Mark Gatiss for no reason.
Yeah, I remember people complaining about the humor in this episode, and Mark Gatiss has actually come out with a statement about that, saying he didn't mean for this to be more funny than the typical Doctor Who episode, but apparently people saw it that way.
It's not really
I think it is
much more, though.
No, and it's not even a bad thing.
No.
Considering it's it's about Robin Hood and
we had strictly human-based episodes of the 11th Doctor's era, like The Lodger.
Yeah, I guess. This was kind of similar to The Lodger, actually, in a weird way, but...
They were both photo-novelized, right? That's what you were going for?
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know if you... I don't know if you looked up any of the making of this, but apparently there was... The only interesting thing from this is that there was a cut scene.
Yeah, one of the few times the real world influences Doctor Who.
I don't think that's true. I wouldn't say that's true at all. Maybe in a very direct way, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently ISIL or ISIS or whatever their name is, executed some dudes.
Yeah, they beheaded two journalists a week or a couple of weeks before this aired, and there was a scene in this where Robin Hood was going to behead the Sheriff of Nottingham, revealing him to be a robot, thus vindicating the Doctor's theory. And then he would put his head back on and then continue to fight Robin Hood. But then the BBC was considering these two high-profile journalists just got beheaded by
terrorists.
It would probably be a little insensitive to keep that in the episode. So they cut it out.
Yeah. And I don't think, in the final product, it's left open whether he's a robot or not.
Yeah, there's a line. Well, the BBC wanted it. The BBC tried to make it still kind of obvious because, he's got that line where he's like, I'm half man, half engine. And then the shot of his hands frozen in gold was supposed to apparently allude to the fact that he was a robot, although it could just
be like a guy encased in gold.
Yeah. Main evidence is the half man, half engine line.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird because, the robots that have been set up to play their part or whatever as a cover for all of this don't seem to realize who they are. But whatever. I mean, I don't know. Classic Mark Gatiss oversight. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
What?
This does have all the trademarks of a Mark Gatiss story, aliens stranded on Earth and they have a master plan to not be stranded anymore.
They have a Dalek master plan.
No.
I mean, those trademarks that you listed off were elements of deep breath as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, it is a general I was trying to remember what deep breath was.
2 weeks ago.
Minute. Yeah.
I know, but the original name.
I mean, yeah, that is just a classic Doctor Who thing, but Mark Gatiss writes these types of stories a lot. He does.
There's an element of the Lodger too.
Yeah.
Which wasn't even a Mark Gatiss story.
No, that's why I say it's an element of just Doctor Who in general.
Classic Mark Gatiss influencing Doctor Who.
I mean, you think it's both him influencing the show and the other way around, but I mean, if you think back, Last of the Gadarene is basically the best example of this formula, and that was written by Mark Gatiss.
Yeah, but also it was a book, so he could take as much time as he wanted to actually develop the plot.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Man, I barely remember that book anymore.
It was like the prime like example of aliens stranded on Earth. It's a very good story that revolved around that. Alluded to Yates's betrayal, which we had no idea about at the time.
I think Nathan and Brendan even brought up that allusion to his betrayal in our episode with them, and we were just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, there's no. If you were just watching the show straight through, which we did, there's like no way you could have seen that coming.
They try to connect it to Invasion of the Dinosaurs, or actually, I think that was the episode he.
No, it was Planet of the Spiders.
Yeah, they tried to connect it to Invasion of the Dinosaurs, where he like was like traumatized or whatever by his involvement. Didn't really work though.
Anyway, this story.
Yeah, this is apparently the first story since Journey to the Center of the TARDIS with no present-day scenes at all, which I didn't even realize till I had that pointed out, because it starts in the TARDIS with the Doctor and Clara and ends with Robin Hood. So.
Yeah, well, they didn't need any present-day scenes. The Doctor asks Clara where she wants to go, and he says she can go anywhere. And like before, she just completely draws her blunt. No.
Well, like before, instead of going to all the cool future places she could go to, she decides to go to Sherwood Forest.
Not just like randomly, like, I think I want to go to Sherwood Forest. But she's like, I want to meet Robin Hood. And the Doctor just completely shuts her down. He's like, didn't exist. He was a fictional character.
Don't blame the Doctor here. Pretty sure we don't have any evidence that Robin Hood was real.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think in like a real world context, like, he wasn't. Although, I don't know, like, the story, like, questions history. But yeah, I mean, though, this is a story about how, like, stories themselves live on past the intentions of their original creators and become part of, I don't know, you wouldn't call it history, but like memory, I guess.
Yeah, and also how things become stories even when they're not intended to be.
Yeah. So the Doctor's like, all right, I guess I can take you to Sherwood Forest in like the 1100s, but we're not going to meet anyone.
I think this episode would have been really funny if they just materialized in Sherwood Forest, walked around for like a week and were like, yep, well, I guess Robin Hood doesn't exist, and left. And the whole episode was just a character piece between the Doctor and Clara in Sherwood Forest. But anyway.
No, like as soon as they step out of the TARDIS, they meet a Robin Hood cosplayer.
That would have been even funnier.
I mean, his costume is like, I don't know, it's questionable.
It's like over the top.
It's like, I don't know.
It's like a fictional character, which is probably why the Doctor sees him immediately and is like, yeah, you're fake, right?
Yeah. It is like, I don't know what this... I don't
brutally
know,
obvious.
No, I don't know what I'm about to say, like, even means, but it's like, if someone today, which is what it is, if, like, someone today was like, I want to dress up as Robin Hood, and this is what they come up with. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what that means, but that's what it is.
But you said it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So the Doctor and Robin Hood immediately get into a fight because the Doctor thinks that Robin isn't real. He's like, but I am.
The Doctor now has the most impressive display of skill he's ever had in the 50 years of episodes we've watched, where he sword fights Robin Hood with a spoon.
Yeah, you seriously think that he's going to pull out his sonic screwdriver when he's like, I don't have a sword, I have this, but it's actually a spoon.
He says...
Because he just keeps used spoons. I mean, this is like handkerchief tier,
they set it up because the Doctor was like eating ice cream or something in the TARDIS, because before they leave the TARDIS, you see him like lick ice cream off the spoon, and then he puts it in his pocket.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
He's finishing up the loss of the ice cream on the spoon.
Puts it in his coat pocket.
Where else is he going to put it? It's not like there's any drawers in the TARDIS.
You literally just throw it and it would be better than...
It's not like there's a washing machine anywhere in that console room.
I'm always disgusted by, like, handkerchiefs in general. And, like, this is just another iteration of that.
A spoon is another iteration of a handkerchief.
Yeah, it's a used, like, item that you put in your pocket.
It's extremely general.
No, but...
Pencils are used items you put in your pocket.
But you don't, like, lick pencils or, like, stick pencils in your nose, hopefully.
I lick pens.
And hopefully you don't put them in your pocket after you do that.
Yeah, I do. You lick him to get him going. It's more effective than banging it on the table. Trust me on this.
I don't know anyone who bangs pens on tables to get them going.
You ever seen people go like, bang the
No.
the point of the pen
No.
against the table to get it going?
No.
I've seen that plenty.
Strange. Anyway, the doctor fights off Robin Hood with a spoon.
And wins.
Yeah, they're on like this
Little
sort of
bridge
log.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just figured out the perfect way to say what I was trying to say before. You know, medieval times, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it.
The entertainment complex.
The entertainment venue. This is like the medieval times version of Robin Hood. If you don't know what medieval times is, which you probably don't, because I think it's like a Southern California only thing. I
I don't
know
actually
about
think
that.
that's true.
I don't know about that, but it's basically like a show that you go to where they have like jousting, but it's all scripted.
They have it's like medieval wrestling. You know how wrestling's fake, and
Yeah.
they give you a good show where they fight and stuff. You just like they medieval fight, they sword fight and they joust, but it's like wrestling. It's fake, and they're not actually killing themselves in the ring for you. And they serve medieval themed foods like giant turkey legs.
Yeah.
That you just eat off the bone. Then they crown a king, an audience. So I've heard. I've never actually been.
Yeah, they do all that.
I don't exactly understand the appeal, much like I don't understand the appeal of wrestling. The Doctor beats Robin Hood, and Robin Hood bamboozles him and pushes him off too, and he gets all wet.
Yeah, and Clara has come out of the TARDIS at this point, and she's wearing
the medieval times version of...
Yeah. Got changed very quickly into this extravagant costume.
She had it ready. She had it ready to go.
I guess. Maybe since last time the doctor asked her where she wanted to go, she just completely drew a blank. She's like prepared for this. She's like, next time I'm gonna be ready.
She does change into this outfit very quickly.
Right.
The Doctor is perturbed by the appearance of Robin Hood, and he takes them to meet his merry men. Clara's like, wow, it's your merry men. He's like, that's a good name. We'll call ourselves that. And she's like, oh.
Yeah, they're just hanging out in a cave in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, I don't know any of the merry men except for Robin Hood and Friar Tuck. But
there's Little John. John Little called Little John. And that's the only one I know.
Then he's like listing off all these other ones. I'm like, who are these people?
I'm really glad I watched the Disney Robin Hood like multiple times, because if I hadn't, I would have like not known anything about this like mythology.
I think I watched that once. I think that's where my entire knowledge of this mythology comes from too.
But apparently, I don't think this is in the Disney version, but apparently Robin Hood is actually like a count or something, or like an earl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Earl of something, but he gets his title and nobility stripped from him.
Yeah, and this actually makes a lot of sense because, I mean, it's not as if, you know, a British story from like this time period would just have like a random nobody as the main character. I mean, it's true. Like their main character is like definitely going to be royalty or like someone important.
I mean, the rest of his band is...
But they're not the main like
nobodies.
dude. They're like not the main dude. Like
what's the point of Friar Tuck?
Well, he's a religion is on Robin Hood's side. Is like what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's more to...
You gotta keep the plebeians in line.
I mean, that's essentially like what all this stuff is of like Robin Hood is actually like a royalty or whatever, is like he's not just a normal guy. Like the thing about this story is like, yeah, steal from the rich, give to the poor, and no, like uphold the common people, but it's like not fully, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the original story of Robin Hood was less like steal from the rich and give to the poor, and more like steal from the rich and
just keep the money.
Yeah, I can't remember, it was like keep it for yourself or just like throw it away or something like that. And it wasn't actually about redistributing the wealth. It's a good story, though.
But hey, stories live on and inspire new stories and
Stories
outlive
can be rewritten.
as long as you do it well.
You don't have to. Actually, you don't have to do it well to rewrite stories. You can do it really poorly, and Be fine.
Yeah, actually, I guess that's true. So the Doctor's really suspicious of everything that's going on, and let me just say that the 12th Doctor is very, very quickly becoming one of my favorite Doctors in just how negative he is and how much he just shoots everyone down at every opportunity.
I know, isn't it
None of
great?
this positivist 11th, actually, I don't know if positivist means being positive, but none of this positive 11th or 10th Doctor garbage.
Isn't it great? Isn't it such a change from everything we've had before?
Yes, and I dread his character development where he becomes
Great.
a nicer guy.
Wow.
He basically tells Robin Hood and his entire crew that they're not real. The weather isn't real because it's too warm. And he's scanning all of them, telling them, like, yeah, you're going to die in 6 months, and you have diseases that are going to kill you and all this other stuff.
I mean, rightfully so. He's like, if you met a fictional character, like, I know my first thought wouldn't be to accept that they're real. The Doctor thinks they might be in a miniscope from Carnival of Monsters.
Yeah.
The Drashigs were in that. I'm sure internally he's like, damn, where are those Drashigs? They'll pop up and kill us all.
Yeah, I mean, for a medieval, like, story, there's a severe lack of, like, dragons and stuff. But I guess
Wow,
they
when you
make up
started
for it
that
with
word,
robots.
I really thought you were going to say Drashigs. The severe lack of Drashigs. But there's an archery competition the next day, and Clara's like, it's a trap, and Robin Hood's like, of course it's a trap. The Doctor's like, you guys are off too much, it's getting on my nerves. And Clara confronts Robin, she's like, why are you so sad? And he's like, what? I'm not sad. Who said I was sad? And she's like, the Doctor's right, you do laugh too much. He's like,
Meanwhile, in the village, the Sheriff of Nottingham is causing trouble.
by stealing all our gold.
Yeah, he's about to round up some people to force them into servitude. But an old man spits in his face. Not the best idea.
He calls him a cur, too. And I was like, getting those Blake 7 references. I mean, not
Wow.
really, but...
Wow. Check out Zenith or Blake 7 podcast. Anyway, the sheriff stabs the guy. And it looks like the only person left in this village. Actually, thinking back, it might have just been like a hut in the middle of nowhere. But they take this girl to the castle, I guess.
Right.
And they're like doing some metal work in the dungeons or whatever. And that's where the people they've captured are working.
Right. But there's an archery competition going on in like the next town over or something.
I think it's at the castle.
I don't know.
I think it's in like the courtyard because then they get taken to the dungeons or whatever.
I don't know who's putting on
Tower.
this competition for the golden arrow, because clearly the sheriff wants that arrow, and if he was the one putting it on, he wouldn't even have this competition to begin with.
Yeah, and the Disney version, which again is the only other version of this that I've like am vaguely familiar with, it's actually Prince John putting on the competition.
That would
Who's
make
just
more sense.
Yeah, I mean they mentioned Richard and John and stuff in this, but they're
Doctors
pretty much
met.
absent.
Was it Richard? Who did he meet in the Crusades?
Yeah,
think it was
yeah,
Richard.
yeah. Because that's the entire like premise of Robin Hood is like King Richard's gone and he's on the Crusades, and his brother John is like messing stuff up back in England.
Well, so Robin enters the competition under the guise of Tom the Tinker. I felt a special connection to this because I played Tom the Tinker once in a production of Midsummer Night's Dream. So, I am Tom the Tinker. I have godlike archery abilities, according to this. But then Robin Hood just reveals himself to be Robin Hood. And the Doctor shows up.
He splits the arrow, and
I think
then the Doctor
Mythbusters did
splits
this
the
once.
arrow.
I think Mythbusters did this once, and I think they said it was plausible, actually. But extremely unlikely. Yeah, but then Robin Hood splits the Doctor's arrow, and then the Doctor splits that arrow by bouncing the arrow off of a knight, and then
Yeah, they
Robin Hood
essentially have
splits
this.
it again, and then the Doctor's like, this is getting silly, and he just blows up the target with his sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, later on, the Doctor actually reveals that he cheated, and the lasers. Yeah, the arrows he
Lasers.
used were homing arrows. But I think the explosion or whatever reveals that one of the knights is like a robot or something.
Well, because the sheriff's like, I want that screwdriver.
Oh yeah, Robin reveals himself and it causes a lot of havoc. And like in this, one of the knights is revealed. The doctor's like, "There you go, robots." Now it's all starting to
Come
fall into
together.
place. But he and Robin and Clara get captured.
Well, he tells him that Robin surrenders, and Robin's like, I had them on the run. He's like, you'd be dead if you had continued. We now get like 20 minutes of the Doctor and
Isn't
Robin
true.
arguing.
Yeah. They're tied to some stakes, like in a tower, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a skeleton also there.
They're arguing.
Yeah, they argue.
They're arguing over whether they have a plan, and Robin's like, I'm biding my time. And the Doctor's like, well, I have a plan. And I was like, can you explain your plan without the two words sonic screwdriver? Because lest I remind you, the Sheriff of Nottingham took it from you. He's like, But then a guy pops in. He's like, well, I was told to listen to the true ringleader. So Robin and the Doctor argue. They're like, okay, well, take me away then. He like, and then Clara's like, and it like pans over to reveal Clara being unshackled. And they're like, seriously?
Yeah. So Clara's taken to the sheriff, who reveals his master plan. But yeah, essentially the sheriff has teamed up with the robots, or is one. And he describes how he
Saw the spaceship land.
yeah, teamed up with the bots and is now in it for world domination. And he really skips a lot of steps here. He goes like, first Sherwood, forest or principality or whatever it is,
And she's
and
like,
then
"All right,
England, and then the world."
No. You're underselling how many steps he skips because he like names like some tiny village that's like the next village over. He's like, I'm gonna take over like town and then workshop. And Claude's like, okay. I mean, okay, but then what? And he's like, and then the world. He like skips the England and like the European continent and like even just London. He skips that too.
Well, he says he's going to go to London to take over the world. Just like, all right, you're like 600 years early.
Many people have tried and many people have failed. But then the Doctor and Robin, I guess they're not actually chained to like the floor because Robin is just
stakes.
Robin is just carrying the cinder block with them to find a blacksmith.
Yeah, I don't really know what this is. I think maybe the block is like locked to the floor and they're chained to the block.
Yeah,
And
they're
they
chained to
unlock
the block.
so they can pick up the block and leave, but they still have to carry around the block.
Well, block doesn't sound like a word anymore. The Doctor makes a joke like, yeah, we're going to a blacksmith to make a hat stand. And Robin's like, aha, a hat stand. You're a funny fellow, Doctor. And he's like, oh, God, please don't laugh. And he's like, ha ha.
Well, the Doctor looks through what looks like a window with a full moon through it. Perfect disguise, but it's actually just like a porthole type thing in the door. He goes in and there's a completely unguarded just control room for the spaceship turned into a castle, which I think this is where you realize that the entire castle is the ship.
Yeah.
And the Doctor kind of reveals more about what's going on.
Well, he finds out the destination of the ship was the Promised Land.
Yeah, which again, this keyword is coming up. So they're actually doing the thing again, I think for the first time in the Stephen Moffat era of like there's keywords that happen in each story and it all adds up to something.
Yeah, surprisingly.
But yeah, basically this entire scenario and why Robin isn't actually real and is a robot,
Allegedly.
as
the Doctor.
as his men are, is that this entire scenario was set up by the alien robots as a cover for their operation of like, hey, we need more gold to power our spaceship, and let's just create this entire cover story. And apparently they have access to future like stories, so they just like instated Robin Hood.
Well, they have a whole archive of human history.
Yeah.
Including the Robin Hood stories, and then they show a picture of Patrick Troughton playing Robin Hood as part of the archive, which I think, like, in a weird way, confirms that Patrick Troughton exists in the Doctor Who universe. Unless this is just supposed to be some other
Yeah.
actor's portrayal of Robin Hood in universe. But
Yeah.
I know a couple weeks ago we were talking about, like, do the actors who play the Doctors exist in the Doctor Who universe?
Yeah, I guess I mean, like, I think what this is supposed to be is like they have access to the BBC like 50s Robin Hood or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Which I would confirm that Patrick Troughton exists. Which calls into question, like, does Doctor Who exist in the Doctor Who universe?
Whoa. Maybe the Doctor wasn't real all along, accusing Robin of being fake.
Yeah, maybe Doctor Who is the opiate for the masses, as the Doctor says, by some future alien species who's trying to take over
God.
Earth. This is getting too weird. That's going to be the 100th anniversary special. If I'm show running the show at the 100th anniversary special, that's going to be my story. I'll put a definitive end to Doctor Who with it.
Ending Doctor Who once and for all.
It'd be the greatest and also the worst episode of Doctor Who in existence.
No, I think it would just be the worst. I think it would just be the second of those two things. Or maybe second worst, like next to the Massacre. Or maybe third, like next to the Massacre and Underworld.
Maybe the fourth, next to Massacre, Underworld, and Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
It's good that we can put classic episodes and reboot episodes on the same level playing field like that. There's one thing Love and Monsters taught us. So Robin Hood's like, but I am real. And the Doctor's like, all right, if you say so. And then the sheriff busts in and the Doctor's like, you can drop the act now. But then Robin's like, don't worry, I'll save you, Clara. And they jump out the window.
Yeah, and this is where it's kind of fuzzy, as to whether the sheriff actually is a robot or not, and if he is, like, whether he knows that or not.
It's also kind of fuzzy as to whether or not Robin is a robot.
Yeah, well, that's part of the whole thing at the end of, like, the story can outlive the original intentions of, who the person who created it, so Robin, who was originally a robot, is now not confirmed to be one.
Is he a robot, though? That's the big question.
Well, if he's a robot, then the robots are waterproof because they jump into the water and swim away or whatever and drown. Neither of them can swim.
I mean, it would be surprising that somebody could swim in this time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I guess that's also a thing of like, yeah, maybe he's a robot because he can swim. Considering they don't even like go near water enough to like bathe. That's the entire.
Robin's men seem to be like remarkably well groomed, if we're being honest.
Exactly. That's why I said he's like a medieval times version of Robin Hood. But that's also like the thing of like, I guess they're robots because they're very well, like, is anyone we see in this story not a robot? But like that, the confusion here that we're experiencing is all part of like the thematic like suggestion of like the end of this, of like, even though they were designed to be robots, are they? It's not clear if they outlive that original like design.
Is Marion a robot?
I don't know.
It was like said at the beginning.
Wait a minute.
The sheriff was like, "Oh, you're new to this town, right?" He's like, "Yep, just in yesterday."
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. The story's called Robot of Sherwood.
Who is the Robot of Sherwood?
So, is there more than one Robot of Sherwood?
Yeah, because isn't like Robin's title like Robin of Sherwood?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be a play on, but I actually remembered the title of the story is Robots of Sherwood, but it's
that's
not.
because that was the working title of the story.
No.
We'll only ever know if we ask Mark Gatiss himself.
No, but even he, I mean, wouldn't.
We could ask him what he had in mind when he wrote it. If he thought Robin
stories
was
can outlive the original intentions of Mark Gatiss.
Well, yeah. But I want to know what Mark Gatiss had in mind. I'm curious. I want to know for my own personal edification.
I mean, not that it matters, but I'm pretty sure the confusion throughout all of this is like, I hate that I'm actually even saying this, but intentional on his part. Again, not that it matters. So
Right.
I'll make that very
not that
clear.
It matters.
Because because I mean that's what the entire ending of this is about, is that it doesn't matter. But let's just get there.
We've still got a while to go before we get there because the sheriff, well, the doctor gets locked up. For some reason, the sheriff doesn't immediately just kill him for seeing too much.
Yeah, I guess they need all the manpower they can get. So the doctor's thrown in the dungeon with everyone else, and he and Marion, who we don't know is Marion yet.
Yeah. It's a mind-blowing twist at the end of the story.
It actually was. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, neither did I, but...
they witness somebody get killed because he defies the robots, and they just blast him.
Blast him! Roger, roger.
No, there's no funny, comic relief banter. Imagine if there was like comic relief with these robots and they like just walk off and kill some people.
Yikes.
I mean, when you think about it, that's essentially like what the battle droids from Star Wars do. It's like they're cute little droids with funny lines and they go off and like murder people.
They're also kind of like grossly ineffective, but...
Well, yeah, I guess the super battle droids are more in line with like, all right, these guys aren't funny. Yeah, the droidicas are actually like intensely scary. Like if you were getting hunted by droidicas, like maybe it's just
you
because
have to wonder why they didn't just mass produce droidicas instead of those.
They were too expensive. That's the thing is like they were the original like things, but then they were like, well, they created the super battle droids because the droidicas were like too expensive or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember.
I just remember as a kid someone calling them droidicas.
Yeah, I think it's however you want to pronounce it.
Droidicas sounds more fun and sci-fi.
Yeah, and all this is just making me sad considering like how great the like lore and all this stuff was with like the what? Why am I blanking on like what episode 1, 2, and 3 are generally called?
The prequel trilogy.
Oh yeah, the prequel trilogy.
You forgot that? SMH fake fan. So the doctor discovers or realizes that the lasers can be reflected by reflective things, which works massively to the robot's disadvantage since they're literally melting down shiny things.
So they start this revolt. There's like probably 4 or 5 robots in the vicinity or like as guards, and they destroy all of them.
But Robin Hood starts interrogating Clara. He's like, who's this doctor and how does he know so much about me? And she's like, Oh yeah, I forgot about this. They go back to the like cave, their hideout or whatever. The Cave of Androzani. The Cave of Wonders.
Don't even make me remember that Aladdin trailer.
There's a lot of gray area in Make Me a Prince. I could just make you a prince. It's my boy Will Smith.
Guy who plays Jafar looks like he's not even cognizant of what's going on around him.
We're getting way off track here.
Okay, yeah, let's just end all of this for good. The doctor and Marion and the rest of the prisoners escape.
And then get confronted by the sheriff who's like, well, we're going to take off. And then I was like, you don't have enough gold to make it out of the atmosphere. And he's like, doesn't matter. He's like, I don't believe you. And the doctor's like, you should believe me. It's kind of obvious. And then Robin Hood busts in with Clara. He's like, what's up? And then this is actually a really impressive display of strength because Robin sticks a knife into the tapestry and he like slides down, but he like supports himself and Clara in like a perfectly horizontal configuration as he's sliding down this tapestry. So Robin's basically the buffest guy in existence, or he's a robot.
The buffest robot in existence. No.
Okay, also a possibility.
So, Robin and the sheriff fight. And this mirrors Robin and the doctor's fight at the beginning, and Robin uses the same move that the doctor showed off and I guess taught him.
Yeah.
To push the sheriff into a vat of melted gold, killing him.
Rip sheriff.
So all of this is
neatly wrapped up.
Yeah,
But not really, because they leave
yeah,
and then the rocket takes off and they're like, oh no, it doesn't have enough gold it's going to blow up in the atmosphere. But the Doctor's like, wait, but we have a golden arrow.
yeah. I wonder why the robots took off without enough gold. Like, do they just not know? They're
They
just
didn't
like,
know
I think this is probably enough.
They took off and then they're like, we don't have enough gold to make it out of the atmosphere.
So the golden arrow that Robin won from the competition is then used. Yeah, Robin and the Doctor and Clara, but more so just Robin and the Doctor reconcile, and they all shoot the arrow together, and this is kind of nice, heartwarming,
kind of cheesy.
Kindled their friendship,
This is cheesy moment where the arrow hits the side of the rocket, and then it's like those cartoons. There's like maximum overdrive. So the robots are like. The robots are like, we only have 86% power, and then the arrow hits and cuts the robots going, we have over 100% power, and the rocket just blasts off into the atmosphere.
Well, again, Doctor Who is regaining some of its cartoony disposition, I guess, and I'm really enjoying it. I had grown sick of like the
Did you really?
super serious, realistic, gritty 11th Doctor. That's not actually true, but it's more so true than like how it was during the 10th Doctor's era.
I guess.
I'm glad to see that the humor is back. Especially with the 12th Doctor being a downer and shooting everyone down every possible opportunity.
He's doing his best. I don't know what he's doing his best at, but he's doing his best.
Anyway, the Doctor reconciles with Robin, and Robin, they have this discussion about how even though Robin is a robot and was created for this master purpose of like deceiving people.
Allegedly a robot.
This story has outlived its original intention, and Robin is now on his way to becoming a myth, I guess.
Yeah, I always interpreted this story that Robin wasn't a robot and then he's a real person. So he was talking about how real people can become legends even though they don't think they're heroes, because the Doctor's like, I'm not a hero, and Robin's like, well, neither am I, but as long as we keep pretending to be, then maybe other people will be heroes in our name.
Yeah, and I think the other way around too, but I think the confusion as to like whether they're robots or not or whatever is actually important to the story rather than clearing it up one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also a nice little touch here at the end about how stories give rise to other stories, like
but
the
also
Disney
about how
version
the Doctor
of
is a hero. Because that's kind of been a running theme this season too. Because he's been like, "Am I a good man, Clara?" And she's like, no comment." And then Robin Hood's like, "Yeah, we don't have to be perfect, but as long as we try our best to be good men." And they shake hands, which is the true reconciliation. They get in the TARDIS and Clara's like, all right, be honest, you like him at least a little bit. The Doc's like, well, I'm leaving him a present, aren't I? And we see the TARDIS dematerialize and Marion standing there, and I'm like, did Marion just stand there for like 20 minutes? Just in the TARDIS, she's just standing there for 20 minutes waiting for them to finish.
Maybe she was behind the TARDIS.
Even worse.
So this is when we find out that this is Marion, and she meets back up with Robin or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the end
Robin's like, bless you, Doctor, and he shoots an arrow off into the air, and I'm like, that's going to come down and kill someone.
Oh, into the camera.
That's going to come down and kill someone. I guess it's the medieval version
you just
of
hear
shooting.
A scream like, like.
I guess that's the medieval version of shooting a gun up in the air.
What if this was the medieval version of like the end of the Christmas Story, where it's like he shoots the thing and you just hear like, ah, and he shoots his eye out. But that's that. Really nice, touching ending there, despite how cheesy it all is.
I can't tell if you're serious or not.
That's important. It's important to my rhetoric that you can't tell.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, what point are you trying to make by having me not be able to tell?
You tell me. Anyway, I thought this story was pretty great. Well, let me take that back. Pretty good. Pretty solid story overall.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it had a lot of nice little character moments for the Doctor in the story.
Yeah, again, I don't think that people would necessarily hate on this as much as I at least witnessed when it first came out.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, seeing a lot of negativity towards this episode.
Yeah.
For what I thought was unreasonable reasons, but
yeah, I don't think that would be the case anymore. That's all I wanted to say.
yeah, I think
most of that was the effect of like the newest Doctor Who season and the newest episode in that season are very hated.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it was also a knee-jerk reaction to a lot of people, like, I guess not, I guess just being surprised by the direction they were taking the 12th Doctor, I guess is the way to put it. Because he was totally different than the other reboot Doctors, right? So I think a lot of it was like this knee-jerk, like, well, I don't like him, so I don't like the episodes he's in either.
I guess, yeah.
Kind of thing. I mean, Doctor Who did lose viewership during the 12th Doctor's era for, a multitude of reasons. But anyway, enjoy the story. Totally forgot next week's story was even a thing. I saw the next time trailer, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing. That's a thing.
Looks fairly scary.
It's the 12th Doctor's hide.
Huh. Huh.
If that makes sense.
Probably doesn't have that classic Neil Cross touch, though.
The Neil Cross touch of what?
Of like writing pretty good stories, like Hyde and Rings of Akaten.
You had me till you said Rings of Akaten. You had me in the first half, not gonna lie. But until next time, if you would like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the Golden Arrow. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching Listen. Wow. He is the 12th Doctor version of Hyde. But until then, the end.